Making headlines this hour, the government proposed amendments to the Judiciary Act aimed at strengthening judicial administration moves to the parliamentary committee stage. The Parliament begins reviewing a draft proposal that seeks to introduce a legal framework for national referendums and proposed amendments to the Constitution. And a finance minister says Singaporean investors have shown strong interest in investment prospects in the Maldives. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Idham Naim. The government proposed amendments to the Judiciary Act aimed at further strengthening judicial administration in the country moves to the parliamentary committee stage. The proposed amendments moved by ruling party lawmaker Saudullah Hilmi to refine the code of conduct for judges to ensure the independence and credibility of judiciary was accepted by the parliament, with 69 lawmakers voting in favour during Monday's parliament sitting. The bill has now been forwarded to the Parliamentary Judiciary Committee for review. The proposed amendments by the government details procedures on conducting performance reviews of judges and filing financial statements for more transparency. The bill also refines procedures for transferring judges to other courts and for temporarily assigning the functions of another court. According to the amendment proposed by the government, judges can no longer be involved in any businesses, have any direct or indirect financial interest in the purchase, lease or business transaction. Judges will also be mandated to notify the Chief Judge and the Judicial Service Commission JSC of cases exceeding 12 months without a verdict. Currently, the law requires only the Chief Judge of the court to be notified within 6 months. According to the Judiciary Act, each judge is required to submit financial statements to the JSC once every 12 months. However, the proposed amendment requires judges to submit a financial statement of their assets within 3 months of taking office. The amendment also requires the submission of a previous year's statement within the first 3 months of each year. In addition, if judges resign, they will be required to submit financial statements within 3 months of their resignation. The proposed amendment also mandates judges to file financial statements of immediate family, including spouses, dependent children, and other direct dependents. The Parliament begins reviewing a draft legislative proposal that seeks to introduce a legal framework for conducting national referendums on matters on public concern and proposed amendments to the Constitution. Submitted under the title Public Referendum Bill, the legislation sets out procedural and institutional guidelines for initiating, approving and administering public votes, an area currently unregulated by statute. Introduced by Inguradu MP and Parliamentary Majority Leader Ibrahim Falah, the bill seeks to address the absence of statutory clarity surrounding the referendum process. Although referendums are referenced in the Constitution, there remains no confided law detailing how such votes should be organized. The proposed legislation establishes the criteria under which referendums may be convened, assigns responsibilities to the initiating bodies, and outlines operational requirements for the Elections Commission of Maldives. The bill specifies the role of Parliament and the President in determining the circumstances that warrant a referendum. Matters broadly impacting the people would fall under Parliament's jurisdiction, while issues deemed critical to national interest would be initiated at the President's discretion. In all cases, the implementation and oversight of referendums would rest with the Elections Commission. Among the areas identified for possible amendment through referendum are provisions concerning fundamental rights and freedoms, articles addressing the duration of parliamentary and presidential terms, clauses governing presidential elections and presidential assent, and articles establishing the territorial boundaries of the country. One provision seeks to address scenarios in which the President declines to ratify a constitutional amendment passed by the Parliament. In such instances, the bill enables a referendum to determine the electorate's position in the proposed measure. The procedural pathway outlined in the legislation allows Parliament to pass a resolution approving a referendum by a simple majority of members present. Following approval, a formal document must be drafted to define the referendum question along with the arguments supporting and opposing the measure. If the initiative originates with the President, the accompanying document must set out the proposed question and supporting rationale prepared in consultation with the Cabinet. Following submission to the Elections Commission, the bill requires the vote to be held within a period ranging from 45 to 90 days. Minister of Finance and Planning Musa Zamir says Singaporean investors have shown strong interest in investment prospects in the Maldives following high-level business forum held during President Dr. Mohamed Moises' official visit. The Maldives-Singapore Business Forum, attended by more than 200 investors, is being regarded by government officials as a pivotal step in advancing economic relations between the two nations. Minister Zamir, in comments to PSM News, said investor enthusiasm had been substantial and voiced confidence in the forum's potential to yield positive outcomes. He pointed to Singapore's historical role in supporting Maldivian economic development and observed that several businesses registered in Singapore are already operating locally, including prominent hotels and office facilities. Momentum among prospective investors, he added, is continuing to build. Discussions, he explained, focused on how to leverage existing investments, communicate available services, and navigate the evolving investment environment and facilitation strategies. Minister Zamir described the event as very successful and expressed hope that its results would support the President's broader economic ambitions. He also affirmed that the visit to Singapore would help consolidate trade and commercial ties. Utilizing this opportunity, information was provided regarding the efforts of President Dr. Mohamed Moises to diversify the economy in the Maldives. Many investors also met with the President and government representatives to obtain information about the services available in the Maldives, the evolving situation, and measures being taken to facilitate investors. Minister of Homeland Security and Technology Ali Ihsan echoed that assessment, noting the attention Singaporean investors are paying to initiatives highlighted by President Moises. He added that Singapore remains a model of development for the Maldives and conveyed expectations for investor engagement in priority projects with meaningful impact. The forum underscored the government's strategy to expand international economic collaboration. Investment opportunities presented during the event centered on sectors vital to countries' goal of attaining developed nation status by 2040, including clean energy, premium tourism, infrastructure, and digital economy. Minister of Fisheries and Ocean Resources Ahmad Shyam recognizes the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's instrumental role in advancing the nation's fisheries sector, citing support for ice plant and cold storage facilities across key islands. His remarks followed the presentation of credentials by Yahya Hassan Al-Qahtani, the newly appointed Saudi ambassador to the Maldives, to President Dr. Mohamed Moises at a ceremony held on Sunday at the President's office. In a post to social media, Minister Shyam welcomed Ambassador Al-Qahtani and affirmed the enduring rapport between the two countries. Describing the bond as a growing friendship that is valued by the Maldives, Minister Shyam attributed recent improvements in the sector to Saudi support, highlighting significant progress made in fisheries development. Following formal credential presentation, President Moises met with Ambassador Al-Qahtani to discuss further opportunities for bilateral cooperation. During the meeting, the President expressed his gratitude for the valuable assistance and cooperation provided by the Saudi government to the Maldives, extending specific appreciation to the custodian of the two holy mosques and King of Saudi Arabia, Salman bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud, as well as to the Crown Prince and Prime Minister Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud. Ministry of Fisheries and Ocean Resources says the government's loan program aimed at equipping fishing vessels with refrigerated seawater RSW systems has drawn a strong response from stakeholders since easing eligibility requirements for the targeted facility carried out in collaboration with the SME Development Finance Corporation SDFC. The ministry has received 69 applications to date. Of those, financing agreements have been formalized and disbursements initiated for 21 recipients. First introduced in September last year, the facility was recently relaunched under more flexible terms intended to accelerate the adoption of RSW technology. One key revision shortens the minimum credit history requirement from 12 months to 3, expanding access for prospective applicants. Vessel owners may now also apply for systems to be installed on boats that are still under construction. The ministry said these changes aim to address ongoing concerns about the availability and cost of ice across the country. With onboard chilling systems, fishermen can maintain the freshness of their catch over longer voyages, an improvement expected to enhance operational efficiency and stimulate growth within the fisheries sector. Loans issued through the SDFC-backed program range from $6,486.68 to $129,733.57 and are offered without the need of collateral. The facility also supports financing for solar panels and generators, allowing vessels to generate power sustainably while at sea. Repayment terms comprise a 6-month grace period followed by a 10-year tenure. Ministry officials noted increasing interest in onboard preservation technologies, describing the demand as indicative of their economic value to the industry. The ministry said the relaxed conditions form part of a broader strategy designed to help fishermen realize the full financial potential of their catch. Government opens the opportunity for local firms to display their product at the upcoming World Halal Summit and Halal Expo scheduled to be held in Istanbul, Turkey. The World Halal Summit and Halal Expo, held annually under the high patronage of the President of Turkey, is slated to be held from 26th to 29th November. The Ministry of Economic Development and Trade said the General Secretary of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, has informed that the opportunity to participate Maldivian products at the event is open to Maldivian businesses. The ministry said the expo is an opportunity for local businesses to promote and market their products. Registration forms for participation and more information about the expo are available at halalexpo.com.tr. Halal Expo is an international fair that brings together companies, investors and professionals in various fields such as halal food, tourism and beauty products. Government starts accepting applications for permits to import more than two-wheelers into the country ahead of new tightened regulations to ease the vehicle congestion facing the country. The Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation in April amended the relevant regulations to prohibit the import of four-wheelers without an approved garage permit. The new amendment will be in effect from 13th July. The ministry, in an announcement on Monday, reminded the new regulation will come into effect on 13th July, insisting that permits will be required for all vehicles except two-wheelers. According to the ministry, applications for import permits for such vehicles can now be submitted through the ministry's online portal, eportal.mta.gov.mv. The permit applications form is available on the ministry's website and the reception. Applicants are required to submit a copy of the permit for the garage, showroom or warehouse where the vehicle will be parked, along with other relevant documents. The Greater Male area is the most congested area in the Maldives, with more than 100,000 vehicles registered in the city. The congestion has been exacerbated by years of neglect in vehicle imports and a lack of oversight on new registrations. The amended regulation is designed to address this long-standing issue by ensuring parking and easing traffic congestion. The construction of the new Island Council building in Numara Shaviani Atoll has been completed. The construction of the new building was included in the PSIP budget of Local Government Authority (LGA), and the $252,918 project was awarded to Econ Maldives Private Limited by the Numara Island Council. Numara Council Vice President Aslam Hussain told PSM News that the previous secretariat building had been small and quite rundown, with just enough space for 4 staffs. However, he said the new building will solve the staff shortage and enhance its services to the island residents. The new secretariat building is equipped with an 80-seat conference hall and a 16-seat meeting room. Separate cabins are reserved for the council president, council vice president, council members, and council secretary general. In addition, the building will include a hall for the Women's Development Committee, a storeroom, a prayer room, a mess room, and separate toilets for men and women. The government aims to rebuild all rundown council buildings within its current term. Local sensation, 2 of us becomes the inaugural ambassadors of the newly introduced Visit Maldives Local Ambassadorship Program. This innovative program, launched by the Maldives Marketing and Public Relations Corporation (MMPRC), has invited talented individuals from across the nation to collaborate with Visit Maldives in representing the country's unique identity, rich heritage, and natural beauty through diverse artistic expressions. To initiate this new program, MMPRC has announced that the band 2 of us have been selected as its first local ambassadors. 2 of us will be promoting the Maldives as the ideal holiday destination throughout all their shows and events, including upcoming performance in India, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, and France, MMPRC said. The band also been invited to audition for Britain's Got Talent 19 in September this year. More locals with a strong artistic vision and a passion for showcasing the Maldives have been encouraged to apply. Applicants must demonstrate originality, cultural awareness, and a commitment to positively representing the Maldivian spirit to the world. The local ambassadorship program forms a part of Visit Maldives' broader strategy to diversify destination marketing efforts and create stronger connections between tourism promotion and the local creative community. Leaders of the growing BRICS group of developing nations gathered in Rio de Janeiro on 6th July for the ongoing summit.
Leaders of states in the BRICS were expected to call for reform of traditional Western institutions, while present in the bloc as a defender of multilateralism in an increasingly fractured world. With forums such as the G7 and G20 groups of major economies hamstrung by divisions and the disruptive America First approach of US President Donald Trump, expansion of the BRICS has opened a new space for diplomatic coordination. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva stated that the BRICS nations now represent over half the world's population and 40% of its economic output, where he also defended multilateralism. The BRICS group gathered leaders from Brazil, Russia, India and China at its first summit in 2009. The bloc later added South Africa and last year included Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Iran, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates as full members. This is the first leaders' summit to include Indonesia. The BRICS bloc has been noted for its expansion by adopting more nation states into its fold.
An Israeli strikes on an out-of-service clinic in Gaza City where displaced Palestinians were taking shelter, killed at least 6 people, director of Al-Shifa Medical Complex says. Dr. Muhammad Abu Salamia, the director of Al-Shifa Medical Complex, says the strike also injured at least 15 others. This comes as Gaza ceasefire efforts have been recently revived. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is due to meet with US President Donald Trump at the White House on Monday, while Israeli officials hold indirect talks with Hamas aimed at a US-brokered Gaza hostage release and ceasefire deal. Trump said on Sunday there was a good chance such a deal could be reached this week. The right-wing Israeli leader said he believed his discussions with Trump would help advance talks underway in Qatar. Ahead of the visit, Netanyahu told reporters he would thank Trump for the U.S. airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites and said Israeli negotiators were driving for a deal on Gaza in Doha, Qatar's capital. Israel and Hamas were set to hold the second day of indirect talks in Qatar today. And Israeli officials described the atmosphere so far at the Gaza talks, mediated by Qatar and Egypt, as positive. Palestinian officials said that initial meetings on Sunday had ended inconclusively. Israel's genocide in Gaza has killed over 57,000 Palestinians, according to the enclave's health ministry. According to UN updates, most of Gaza's population has been displaced by the war and nearly 500,000 people are facing famine within months. Edson Alvarez scores the go-ahead goal in the 77th minute as Mexico overcame an early deficit to defeat the U.S. men's national team 2-1 in the final of the CONCACAF Gold Cup night in Houston. Mexico won its second straight Gold Cup at 10th overall. The U.S. are second with 7 titles, while Canada won it in 2000. Chris Richards gave the U.S. the lead in the 4th minute, but Raul Jimenez tied it in the 27th. Alvarez scored Mexico's tournament-high 5th set-piece goal. This set the first 4 were of corner kicks. The winner was a free kick that Yonan Vazquez flicked to Alvarez for a diving header that was first ruled offside before the decision was overturned after video review. Goalkeeper Angel Malagon preserved the lead in the 2nd minute of stoppage time with a close-range stop of Patrick Agyemang. Mexico is 6-2 in Gold Cup finals versus the US. Richards stunned the Mexicans with an athletic header, ending their streak of not allowing a goal at 387 minutes. It was the earliest goal in Gold Cup final history. Sebastian Berhalter, whose father Greg was coaching the USMNT, is Copa America at this time in 2024, but was fired soon after the tournament, sent a free kick to the middle of the box. Richards had to step back to gain control of the ball before directing it to the underside of the bar, where it fell across the line. Jimenez roofed a through ball corner by Marcel Ruiz to make it 1-0. Afterward, Jimenez held up a Diogo Jota jersey to honor his former Wolverhampton teammate, who, along with his brother, Andre Silva, died in a car accident on 3rd July. Mexico led in attempts, shot on goal and corner kicks. The US fielded essentially a B team for the Gold Cup, so it was no surprise they were a decided underdog against a veteran Mexican side. Playing in Houston didn't help. No national team in the world has less of a home field advantage than when the Americans host the Mexicans, and the crowd of 71,000 was at least 75% pro-Mexico. At an apartment construction site in Tokyo, where temperatures soars above 35 degrees Celsius, for the first time this year today, workers for Daito Trust Construction donned puffy air-conditioned jackets equipped with cooling fans on their back while at work. The custom-made jacket, which the construction company developed with the construction supplies manufacturer, uses the thermoelectric effect to enhance the cooling effect and has been distributed to 1,500 workers. The fan-equipped jacket is one of the solutions designed to help workers cope with the scorching heat as temperatures soar to the highest this season in the nation's capital, and hot and humid conditions make walking outside vulnerable to risk of heat stroke. The heat stroke alert were issued in 30 out of 47 prefectures nationwide, the most this season, caused by a prolonged heat wave that grips much of the country following the hottest June on record for the country. The extreme heat, which has become a norm in summertime Japan, has developed into a major workplace hazard that the government had rolled out labor safety regulations from this June requiring companies to implement protection measures against heat stroke. The Labour Ministry data shows construction workers are particularly at risk of heat stroke, that they accounted for nearly 20% of deaths or becoming ill due to heat stroke in the workplace in 2023. The overall number of heat stroke cases at work more than doubled that year from a decade ago. According to the construction site manager Toru Suzuki, besides jackets, the company also installed a live camera and a weather meter at the top of the construction site to monitor the heat index in real time. That concludes news for now. Thank you for watching PSM News. Have a good day.
ದಿವೆಹಿ ಮಿಣವಂಕಂ ಹೋದ ಮಕ್ಕೂರಿ ಮಸ್ಸೆಕ್ಕತುಗ ಸಿಲೋಣುಗ ಹಿಂಗಾದಿಯ ಮುಹಿಮ್ಮು ಕಂತತ್ತ